This week we will be traveling to a magical land called Nebraska. Nebraska is known for a couple things, corn and giant deer, and the latter is what we're going to chase. It is jumping off right now, it's crazy. The rut is definitely on, there's bucks chasing does everywhere. Old Big Don might be doing some killing. That's my stage name, Big Don. So then old Mr. Steal Yo Doe strolls across the river and he's looking for a fight. We start heading out there and we come around this bend and this stud of a deer takes off and runs over the next rise. So we decided to commit the rest of the afternoon, if we had to putting on the spot and stalk. And he stands up to chase another deer off. Well, this big old sucker, without warning, snort wheezes in the bed while he stands up and bumps this doe. I got it. Go.
Well, I'm mean as gravel, I'm poor as dirt, and I like things better the way they were. Well, I'm strong in the head, but I get things done. I spend too much money to have a little fun. Come on. I ain't changing, I'm a stubborn man. So can you love me like I am? Can you love me, baby, like I am? Yeah.
This week we're going to the great state of Nebraska. Now, Nebraska, to some city folks, might be considered boring or in the middle of nowhere. Well, that's precisely why we're going there, because we're outdoorsmen, woodsmen if you will. And Nebraska is a diverse land full of all kinds of territory, from the sand hills to the river bottoms full of beautiful oak trees, and they grow giant white-tailed deer, which is why we're going. Besides, have you seen the cities in our country lately? Everybody should want to come to the country. No, scratch that. City folks, y'all stay put. You made your bed, now you gotta sleep in it. We'll be in Nebraska with a bunch of good old boys and girls hunting some white-tailed deer. This week we're gonna be in northeastern Nebraska hunting with Gobble and Grunt Outfitters. My man Chris was highly recommended by my buddies at Rolling Bones. We're looking forward to hunting with him and seeing what his place is all about. Coming into camp, it's unreal. I mean, this cabin is sitting on a hilltop overlooking this beautiful river bottom. It just looks like perfect paradise for a white-tailed deer. You know, we got out to the range and all the guys were out there, and it seems like it's gonna be a good group of guys this week in camp. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and that's half the battle right there. If you're around a bunch of good people, you know, the hunting could be bad or good, or the weather could change on you, but if you're with some good people, you know you're gonna have a good time. So I rolled into camp and got with Colton, met Chris, grabbed the Raw 308, cracked off a few rounds just to make sure she was still zeroed in, and we were ready to hunt.
Work drugs.
We get out in the ground blind that morning and it cracks daylight, and the first thing we see is a buck cruising hard looking for a doe. I mean, it's looking like the conditions might be right in Nebraska. Well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting first morning in Nebraska. You may have noticed my Hoyt looks a little different today. That's because it's opening day gun season in Nebraska, and I like to occasionally take a rifle vacation from a series of bow hunts, let's say, that just didn't quite go our way. It's the rut, man. It's, you know, deer, they're on does right now. Anyway, we're pumped to be here in Nebraska. We're gonna have a lot of fun this week. And I've actually got a bow tag, so we mess around and shoot one early enough, which you never can plan on that, but you never know, man. Nebraska, here we go. We've seen a couple little bucks and 3 does and a decent buck this morning. we saw a couple more deer that morning, nothing too exciting, and I finally get a text from Chris when he got service, and he said, if you guys want to change up, make another plan. I've seen a bunch of bucks running all over the place this morning, and we were thinking about switching it up for the evening.
Whoa, we do exist. Nah, I'm good, man. I don't eat that processed stuff. I only eat carnivore snacks. It's made with salt and meat, and it's delicious. Hang on one second. It's blurry. How come you're... Hey! SKB cases are so tough, you'll be tougher just by owning one. Hit me with that shovel.
I don't think that's...
Just do it!
Okay.
All right, we gotta do it again.
Oh, your face.
I didn't mean in the face.
Oh, babe.
What?
We're missing some teeth.
So we get back to the lodge. We made a new plan with Chris for that evening, and we had a couple minutes, so we headed out to the range. But we got out there, and I made sure the raw 308 was dialed in, and then we noticed there was a whole bunch of targets way out to 600 yards. We had a minute. We were on a rifle range. I had a bunch of ammo. So I took the opportunity to practice way out to 600 yards in some of this crosswind.
Right where I want it. That high at 100.
So when we got back to camp, I think everybody thought a war had gone on because I took the raw AR-10 and was burning down some ammo. So they were just hearing a bunch of gunfire and a bunch of steel targets ringing, thinking, what is going on up there? So I apologize if I scared anybody, but that's just kind of a normal day at the range for the Red Arrow crew. I don't know. We like to shoot a lot. So Chris had seen some pretty good bucks chasing around this irrigation pivot. So our plan was to move in there that night and either set up or spot and stalk one of these big bucks. And at least we'll get an inventory and try to put a plan together for tomorrow. The deer use the open space to their advantage out here, and just because we can see them doesn't mean we can slip around and get within rifle range to shoot one. And it's going to be pretty challenging to close the distance with all this open. You know, the next morning we're right back there at the irrigation pivot, and there's more big bucks out in the field. We pick one out that we might be able to get a shot at, and we go to cut him off.
We spotted two pretty good bucks and one really good buck right on a doe. Another buck we definitely shoot trailing behind.
We couldn't get ahead of this deer. There's so many places they can go. While you're moving and slipping around them, they've gone down into the next ditch or crossed over into the next field. And it just didn't work out that morning. We headed back to camp that morning after not being able to get ahead of this buck, and we immediately from the deck spot a bunch of deer in the low grounds. And there's just bucks running everywhere. The big 6 that we were hunting yesterday was down in here. Now we got another big 9-point, big 10, and a big 8 came into here in the timber just now. It is jumping off right now. It's crazy. The rut is definitely on. There's bucks chasing does everywhere. We got to watch from a bird's eye view the perfect rut scenario. There's a hot doe down in here. The 6-point has her locked down, and other bucks are coming in trying to take her. So then old Mr. Steal Yo Doe strolls across a river, and he's looking for a fight. Unfortunately for him, what he found was one of the other hunters that was in that area. Our buddy PJ connects on this big old buck. I'm talking about PJ laid down a good one. This is everything you want out of a whitetail deer hunt. You had rut action, you had fighting, chasing, bucks coming in and out, and then to kill a buck like this, I'm sure my man is proud of it. This got us all fired up. I mean, we're not even waiting till it gets late enough to go sit a stand. We're going out right now and seeing what we can find running around.
All right, here you are, Mr. Campbell. It took me just 2 weeks.
What is this?
It's the new semi-non-binary.
Did you bedazzle his eye?
Yes, and that's an upcharge.
Thanks. You wouldn't trust your trophy to an amateur, so why hang it like one? Get a full-range hanging system. If Vortex Optics were an animal, they'd be a cross between a wolverine and a howler monkey.
You're ridiculous.
I'm what Vortex calls a VIP. If I break this optic, they give me another one.
They do that for everybody.
Everybody gets another? I guess it's the everybody gets a trophy generation. When everybody's special, no one is Vortex.
So we're fired up now, man. We want to go get in the stand early, so we start heading out there, and we come around this bend, and this stud of a deer takes off and runs over the next rise. And we decide, hey, we can go to this really good spot, but don't leave deer to find deer. So we decided to put a stalk on this big buck instead.
Oh my gosh, that's a freaking hammer. That's like a 6. No.
Pro tip for you, make sure you zero your scope caps if they are adjustable. In other words, this Vortex scope, I've got scope caps, windage and elevation that I can turn up or down or whatever. And I didn't zero them back out. I didn't take the time, but what I did do was snap a quick cell phone picture of both of the marks. So I would know if I got it bumped, I could set it back to where it was sighted in. And thank God I did that, because as I was grabbing my rifle out of the truck to go on this stalk on this great big buck, I looked down and remembered, all right, it wasn't on 2 or it wasn't on 5 last time. And I looked at my phone, referenced it, dialed it back to 0, and went on this hunt. Y'all been following along with the story. We got a buck and a doe bedded in this draw at the base of some trees. We're gonna try to slip over the rise here. Basically try to get in some shadows, roughly, 150, 200 yards away from this buck. So we'll see what we can do, man. A lot of open country, a little bit bright out here, but we'll see what we can do. You don't leave deer to find deer. We got 2 more jam up spots we could be sitting in right now, but there's a great big buck bedded down over top of a doe, so we're gonna try him first at least. So we're in the low grounds, and we're gonna be heading up into these draws, and we gotta cross this little open area, and we're gonna start rounding the corner, and hopefully, based on where we last saw him, this buck is gonna be bedded somewhere in this little draw. There's no guarantee that this deer's gonna be over this next hill, but we didn't see him top out anywhere, and we feel like he's probably bedded. It's early enough in the day that he's bedded in there somewhere, so we decided to commit the rest of the afternoon, if we had to putting on a spot and stalk. So we still hadn't got eyes on this buck. We're just rounding the corner, taking our time, meticulously stalking our way, glassing every blade of grass. We're looking at the hillside, and then finally we're glassing, and I see his rack move. This buck's even bigger than I thought he was. We caught a glimpse of him running over the hill, but this is a hammer. This is a pretty good deer. So we're easing up, and we're checking this deer, making sure we've always got eyes on him as we move to the next destination. So we'll pick a spot and we'll say, all right, if we can get to that next stump or that next tree, and then we reassess the situation. So you're cutting up the stalk into small bites. We're making our way to a point where we think we can get a clear shot at this deer, and he stands up to chase another deer off. Thankfully, he's got a hot doe. He just pushed this other little buck out of the territory, and he ran right back to his bed and got in position behind this doe again. We're gonna have to make kind of a risky move. I have to get up to this point where I can see down into the spot the buck's bedded in. I can't go to my right because I'll be exposed in the sunlight. So I have to quickly and quietly make my way low crawling through this brush and get to this tree to see if I can make the shot when the deer does stand up. I finally make it, I get in position, I'm shifting around, and I've got a great shot at this deer. As long as my sight picture doesn't change too much when he stands up, I think I should be in business. So now it's just a waiting game. I'm just sitting behind the gun. I've got the crosshairs trained right on him, and I'm just waiting for him to give me an opportunity.
Yep.
This is a time when you got to stay focused. We've been sitting here for what feels like forever, and this buck is still bedded. And we're just waiting to see it play out now. Well, this big old sucker, without warning, snort wheezes in the bed while he stands up and bumps this doe.
I know, I got it. You want to go? If you want to fool the whitetail's nose, you need core body foam. Heck, I've even tested it on bloodhounds. So whether you're running from the law or you want to kill that nice buck, core body foam's the way to go.
Kip, we're not promoting evading the police.
What? It's not like I said I killed somebody, but I mean, if I did, I'd be lathering up with this stuff like Diddy does baby oil.
Jeez, Kip.
I can't say that either.
Don't say that.
Too
No.
soon? If you want great results in anything, form is critical. Go long, son. And taxidermy is no different. That's why the only form I use comes from Ohio Taxidermy Supply. It's a pretty sweet looking albino doe. I wonder how she lost her ears.
This is a time when you got to stay focused. We've been sitting here for what feels like forever, and this buck is still bedded. And we're just waiting to see it play out now. Well, this big old sucker, without warning, snort wheezes in the bed while he stands up and bumps this doe. We're sitting there as still as we can be, and all of a sudden, it's go time. We got to shoot this deer.
I got it. I can shoot him straight on.
I had a perfect shot as far as I'm concerned. I had him quartering hard to me. I knew I could blow his heart out from right here, so I started squeezing that trigger.
Let me dump him. I'll dump him right there, okay? Come on him. Good work, guys. Wow, what a stalk, baby. Look, can you believe that? There's nothing better than when you find someone that is your style of hunter and get freaking stalked. I love it. Spot stalk whitetail, baby.
He took a punch from Mike Tyson.
Oh, good stalk, brother.
Do you believe that came together?
Hey, look, I was gonna let him turn broadside, but I had such a perfect shot right here.
Solid.
Solid shot at him, and then what I didn't want was that doe to jump up, and then she ran, and he just took off. Did you hear him snort wheeze when he got up? He grunted and snort wheeze. He said,
You know, it's difficult enough to sneak up on this deer and kill it with a rifle, much less when you got to get it on video and there's 3 of y'all. But when everybody's on the same page like me and Chris and Colton were, and have the same hunting style, the same philosophy, we know when to slow down, we know when to speed up and get aggressive. You know, there's nothing better than pulling that off. And it's really fun the whole time when you know everybody's going to do their job and everybody knows what they're doing. Man, we were jacked up, and the crazy thing about these deer out here is a lot of them, their body size is so big that it kind of shrinks their rack. So this was the opposite of ground shrinkage. This buck just kept getting bigger and bigger the closer we got to him.
I like that right there, man. That was a perfect stalk. No tracking job required. Yeah.
Oh my God. Look at that sucker. Look how long his main beams are.
I can't even believe it, man. I knew he was big. I mean, I sat there and looked, and I saw mostly this side when he was bedded, but I had no idea. Look at that, Colton. What do you say, man?
Holy cow. What character, right?
Darn, he's a freaking
Yeah,
beast. He got bigger. Ain't
Oh, he grew.
No ground shrinkage here, baby. I mean, the coolest part about this deer, besides the fact that he's exceptional, is just, I mean, the hunt that we did from
we were going back for lunch.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the morning didn't work out. We were just going back for lunch.
Come and check
And
out.
you were like, man, let's glass that one spot where the Big Six was,
Yep.
and maybe we'll set up there tomorrow. Or we had totally different plans for this evening. And all of a sudden, he just lopes over a hill with a doe.
That's right.
So, well, man, thanks again, dude.
Pleasure, buddy. It's been
I
great.
can't tell you how fun that was. And I don't mean just, I mean, he's a giant. Everybody wants to kill a deer like this.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
You know, to say I was excited about the result of this hunt is an understatement. This deer exceeded all of my expectations of what kind of buck I was going to be able to kill out here in Nebraska. We had a great time hunting with Chris, and the place was awesome. The guys in camp were amazing, and everybody took care of us. We had a big time out there in Nebraska with Goblin Grunt Outfitters. And next time, I think I'm going to bust out the Hoyt for a spot and stalk, because I really was. I got to be honest with you. I started getting cocky on that hunt, and I was thinking, man, I could sneak into bow range on this sucker. But anyway, it was a great hunt out there. We're going to hit the road. Don't forget, before you leave, stop by the online store. We might have something cool on there. Maybe something you've never even heard of. You never know.